I've been talking now for 22 years about the fact that there is an energetic, let's call it, because it's true, information change going on in the waveform fabric of our reality. I knew about it 20 years ago, and I was told that the effect it would have would be that I was going to see in my lifetime this great awakening of people to see a new vision of self in the world that they'd never seen before, and all that had been hidden was going to be brought to the surface by this information change. Now, 22 years ago, I mean, no sign. Look at it now. I mean, the very program we're talking on is an expression of this, all that's been hidden coming to the surface. And look what we know now about how the world's manipulated. We didn't know 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's fantastic. So they knew this was coming. And what they're doing is they're trying to mitigate the effect on people by destabilizing. If you take the human biological computer and you relate it to a desktop computer, if you put viruses in a desktop computer, it is not going to decode the internet or anything like that in an accurate, powerful, effective way. It's going to cause mayhem. And what, in effect, if you look at chemicals, Alex, and the chemtrails and the aluminium, again, in the holographic realm, we see chemical substances. But if you go back to their base state, which is a waveform information field, if you could see that, it would be incredibly disruptive. It wouldn't be harmonious. It would be just a mess.
It's jamming. It's electrochemical noise that at the electrochemical level fries us. So what does the system do? As in a way, they're poisoning of everybody and cancer rates off the chart and all this. That's one of the biggest things waking people up, is that enough folks are seeing their loved ones dead and dying to actually realize it's a soft kill operation.
So this is what I was talking about years ago. The time would come, and my goodness me, are we there, when what had been covertly manipulated would have to break the surface. I mean, if they want to bring in this society that you've been talking about, earlier in this chat, then we're going to have to see it at some point. And this is obviously where we are. It's a point of danger because they're confident enough to break the surface, or desperate enough because they're trying to do it before the wake up brings it down. But it's also a wonderful opportunity, because one of the greatest forms of human control is actually denial. And you look at any area of society, from New Age to the military, and you'll see lots and lots of people in complete denial of the obvious. Why? Because they don't want to face the fact that the world is as they'd rather it not be. So instead of facing that, let's kid ourselves that it's not like that, really. Denial. Now, what is happening now, absolutely right, is that as this stuff comes into our face more and more blatantly, it's getting more and more difficult to deny it's happening. And therefore, more and more people are having to face the fact that actually it is happening. And it's no good hiding from the fact. We've got to face it. And so it's a time of great opportunity as well as a time of great challenge. And I would speak at whole life expos and stuff like that when I first came to America. The only people interested in me talking, what would be called the New Age arena, and they'd put me on right at the end of the day in the smallest room when everyone had gone home and there was no one there, because I was a strange man talking about conspiracy. Basically, it was love and light and don't talk negative. Oh no, bad vibes. Well, what I've seen is a massive transformation in so many of those people and that mentality by the sheer power of, look at it, it's happening and it's impacting on your life, that those people are now in large numbers, not all of them by means, are starting to encompass the fact that, hey, we can't just deny and sit in a lotus position any longer and think that's enough. We've got to engage with the system, and more people are. And it's those people. I mean, Christians would have nothing in common with New Agers, overwhelmingly. Christians wouldn't have anything in common with Muslims and stuff like that. But this is what we need to do, surely. We put aside the belief systems, and you know, good luck to everybody. You should have the freedom to believe what you like and whatever. But let's put that aside and let's come together and let the fault lines of division fall away, because we're in this together, and unless we meet it together, then we'll be divided and ruled.
Well, that was my next point that I wanted to bring up to you, is that we see presidents, you know, high-level execs in major corporations like Goldman Sachs saying, I can't do this anymore. It's totally criminal. We're here to hurt people, rip off our clients. We call them scum. We call them muppets, puppets that they manipulate. You see all these people coming out. I mean, there are so many prominent people in the system, genetic engineers making $3 million a year. They quit and say, we're sterilizing people. It's a chemical weapon, a bioweapon. Don't eat it. As people at the upper echelons, not the very top of the pyramid, but very close, realize that this system means death and destruction, their basic human instinct for survival and decency kicks in. And I'm just seeing an explosive awakening within the elite itself, or the highest levels that serve the system. Are you beginning to see that as well? Yeah,
I mean, what I understood about this information waveform change is that the most open, the less densely caught in the box, would be touched by it first. But eventually it would start to touch people who were really deeply in the box and deeply in the system. And I'm seeing people now, Alex, who I would have said a very short time ago, never him, never her, not in this lifetime. They'll never look at this in anything but disdain and dismissal. And I'm seeing them now looking at it seriously. So there is something big time going on. And another great thing about the conspiracy researchers and the conspiracy communicators of information is we are actually decompartmentalizing the blooming system, because of course the system's compartmentalized, so you're only given as much information about what you're doing to do what you're doing and no more, so you don't see how it fits to everything else, and they've gone along in ignorance and all that stuff. This is why so many top secret technologies are actually different parts are made by different people, and only the people that put it together at the end know what it is and what it's going to be used for. And what this information that's been pouring out more and more effectively year after year after year is doing, and I'm seeing this in science, with scientists, with people in the system, it's decompartmentalizing the system, because it's saying to them, see, this is what your contribution is doing, because it's connecting to this contribution, and what you think you're doing in innocence is actually causing this. And so, you know, the system is starting to unravel, and that's why I feel this sense of panic. We must push on, we must push on, we must push on. And when you do that, you make mistakes, and you make it even more blatant what you're doing. So this is a time of great challenge. But I tell you what, mate, I'm looking at it now, and when I see where we were just a few years ago, we are making very, very rapid progress.
I agree with you. Now, how do you see the psychological warfare chiefs that are trying to create this total false reality, this artificial habitat for us, as those of us here in the global planetary spaceship zoo begin to notice that this is a Truman Show?
Yes, exactly.
How is the system going to strike back? Because we've talked about our numbers going from maybe 1% 10 years ago, knowing the Federal Reserve is private, to over 90% in polls. So there's different degrees of awakening.
Yeah.
But sure, there's 30, 40% that are really starting to be awake. But there's 30% or so that never will wake up, because they'll just decide out of cowardice to join with the system because they think it's going to win. And then you've got that other 30% or so that are just so into the system and so drugged and poisoned, they don't have the IQ to wake up. So how do you see those that are mercenaries are going to serve the evil to the end because they think it's, you know, they worship at the altar of dark power? How are they going to try to blame us that are actually waking folks up for problems that are coming? Because more and more I'm hearing, you're going to destroy the stock market. You're going to cause problems by what you're doing. Just go along with it. Or I'm seeing people who denied world government was being set up. Now they've suddenly said, okay, world government's the answer, and okay, it's all real, but those of you that oppose it, you're the problem. I mean, because obviously what I'm trying to say is the system's got a lot of tricks up their sleeves. What do you see as their counter-strike option against us?
Well, I mean, I think they'll try to demonize people communicating this information ever more effectively in any way they can. Desperate is the word that comes to mind. The key for those who are doing this is for it to go in one ear and out the other. Because the more they're attackers, the more they seek to undermine us, the more they are aware of the effectiveness of what's going on in terms of exposing them. So it's a compliment in so many ways. And, you know,
they always, just interrupt, they always tried to ignore us at first. Now when they've got 15 shows on at any one time saying 9/11 truthers are crazy, everybody instinctively goes, wait a minute, if they're making this big a deal out of it, and this media has been caught lying millions of times, I mean, people when the system's out of bullets, and now when they attack you, it's a badge of courage, what do they do next?
Exactly. Well, the thing is that I've had so many people come to my information in recent years because of all the attacks on me and things like the British media. They're thinking, well, what's this guy saying that's causing this? And so it's actually counterproductive in the end, because the more they attack you, the more people say, well, he must be saying something right. I'm hearing that again and again. It's gone from years and years ago, yeah, he's a nutter, to, well, he must be saying something right to get all this abuse. And in a way, they are running out of bullets. And as long as we keep moving forward and refuse to bow to this nonsense that's thrown in our direction, then the more they'll run out of bullets. Because this is the point I want to make. We are consciousness having an experience through a biological computer called the body mind, which allows us to experience a certain range of frequencies that we call the physical world. Now, the stadium in which these people are running their control system is body mind, and it has a frequency range. Once you open your mind to consciousness, I mean, what Christians would call the soul, and many other different religions and beliefs call it different things, but the greater self,
spirit,
which near-death experiences are experiencing, where they leave the body and the reality is completely changed and it's much more expansive and everything becomes possible, and it's amazing the way they describe it. Once you do that, that power starts to come through the body-mind computer. The control system can't deal with that because it's not in its field of frequency to deal with it. It doesn't have the power to deal with it. When you look at the system, Alex, you look at the society and the way it's structured, it's systematically structured to do this, to pull our point of attention, i.e. our sense of perspective, who we are and what's happening in the world, into the five senses, into their stadium. This is what they're manipulating. When we're in five sense reality alone, then we are playing away from home. And we can only perceive self and the world and world events through the five senses.
Well, here's an example, David. They, as you know, for over 100 years, they've done scientific studies the world over that there is a sixth sense, stronger in some people than others,